Hello YouTube, this is LoserKings007 here, and I am bringing you the first LKS stop motion tutorial. Now in this I will give you a overview of what I do to make a single animation. I will be making separate tutorials, putting in more detail at the different sections of it, but this is just going to be an overview. I'm going to show me filming the animation, and I will show you what I do after I film the animation. Okay, so there's basically 4 steps I would narrow it down to. Step 1, material. Step 2, string. Step 3, filming, and step 4, editing. Right now, let's talk about step 1, material. You are going to need some wrestling figures. You're also going to need some fishing line or thread. I use fishing line personally, but you could use thread also. And I cannot stress this enough when I say you are going to need a tripod. A tripod is basically just a stand that keeps your camera steady. Now, if you don't have a tripod, what I suggest you doing is probably put a camera on top of a stack of DVDs or CDs and wrap a rubber band around it over and over to keep the camera steady enough to where you could take pictures without it moving. But the thing is, if you don't have a tripod, you could do that to practice, I guess, if this is your first time. But if you don't have a tripod, you're gonna need to buy one. That's just the bottom line for that. No more to say about that. On to string. You could use any kind of string-like materials, whether it be thread or fishing line. I personally use fishing line, and the good amount of length would be probably from the tip of your finger up to your shoulder. What I do is I tie that much into a circle. I don't ever tie it into the figures because sometimes it could get stuck on there. Plus you can't move it around if you tie it onto a figure. So what you do is, to tie it into a circle, you take each end of the fishing line that you've already cut, or string, and you kind of wrap it around like you're gonna tie a knot, like a shoelace, but don't pull on it. You wrap it around, and then you wrap it around again, and then you pull on that side, and then it should stay tight and put. The string, just kind of pull on the whole thing. If it comes apart, then try again or cut another piece, since those ends might be already tangled up. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. The reason I do this for the fishing line is because you could wrap it around the shoulders and then unwrap it at the same time, and you don't really have to grip on the string. You kind of just put your finger around it. Now on to filming. Before I get started, I want to quickly explain different sizes and pictures that cameras can take. There is a 4x3, a 3x2, and a 16x9. The footage I am going to be filming in will be 3x2 widescreen. It does not fill up the whole YouTube screen. YouTube formats are 16x9 for future reference. Now, before you begin shooting, place the camera on the tripod. Place it where you think might look good. Just, check the camera screen before you start, and play with your figures. This really helps. It keeps the motion in your head as it's going along. Practice it beforehand and then start filming. When filming, all you simply do is move the figure a little bit at a time every picture. So you move it, you take a picture, you move it, you take a picture, and it should create a movement when played back fast. Once you get to the part where you're going to need to use string, you just simply use the round piece of string that I demonstrated earlier and wrap it around the figure's shoulders. Now, a good reason why I tied the string in a circle is because you could actually wrap the string around your ear, and you could use both hands to move the joints of the figure without it messing up. And you could also move the figure on the mat as well with both hands. Now, this process is mainly about being patient. You cannot rush this kind of work. I will go into more detail about certain kind of moves and string placements and different animations, because every move is different. I will make different kind of tutorials on that later on. Now, here is a speed up process of me animating times 7. Now, to create the impact of the blow by making rope bounce, you just simply grab all 3 pieces of rope and pull them back, and as they're bouncing, you just take the picture. It's as easy as that, and it looks really good. Just make sure you take enough pictures to have the actual movement. Now on to the aftermath of filming, the editing. Here I will briefly demonstrate rendering in Windows Movie Maker and Sony Vegas, and I will explain to you the difference between 480 and 720 HD. Now let's go back into the different sizes of pictures that cameras take. You can always personally check your camera to see what kind of pictures it takes. 4x3 as shown here is typically what Windows Movie Maker will render in, which is what I used to do, and it would come out as 480 on YouTube with the black bars to the left and right. A 3x2 still is a widescreen format, but it is not a 16:9 like the YouTube format. The only reason I take pictures in this format is because whenever I render in Sony Vegas with a picture like this, I have to stretch it out to get rid of the black bars. Reason being, if you stretch a picture from a 3x2 rather than a 4x3, then it will look less stretch and pull than a 4x3 since it is more narrow. Now you won't have this problem if you're taking pictures in a 16:9, which is widescreen, which is what YouTube uses. When rendered correctly, 16:9 can be published in a 720 or 1080 HD video. Once you have put the pictures into your hard drive, select them in Windows Movie Maker by importing pictures. I will make a more detailed tutorial using Windows Movie Maker for animations, but for now I'll give you the quick rundown. First off, always set your Windows Movie Maker into timeline, not storyboard. Now when finding your right speed, you go up to Tools and click on Options. Windows Movie Maker could only go up to 0.125 speed per picture, but I always do 0.100, which is a little bit less, so what I'm going to have to do is set every picture to 3 seconds and manually make them smaller. Sony Vegas can set its pictures at 0.10. Now I just right click and select all and then put into the timeline. Keep in mind though, the speed will vary depending on how many pictures you take. It will be different for everyone. I always make the beginning and end picture longer with a fade in or fade out. To speed up each picture, I click the right of each one and drag it to the left. Let's speed up this process. When using Windows Movie Maker, always remember to save before publishing. Windows Movie Maker is known to close down before publishing. After you've saved, now you just click publish to this computer and you're done with Windows Movie Maker. Sony Vegas is a little bit more complicated when it comes to this, so when I make a separate video on Sony Vegas, I'll talk about rendering settings then. In Sony Vegas, to create the speed you would like to use, you go up to Options, then Preferences, and click on the tab that says Editing. Below, you should see an option that says New Still Image Length Seconds. You just change that to whatever speed you use. I use 0.10. Once you're done, make sure you select the whole region, then go up to File and Render As. And that's what it takes to make one single animation. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and if you like this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And that's the bottom line, cause the Loser King said so.